in your experience, what has been like the most mind-bending temple structure that you visited in your home country?
There are lots. There's one temple called the Kailasa Temple, which is a very famous temple. It's built out of one rock. It's a large temple. It has multiple
That's the
floors.
one that's carved out of the mountain.
Yep.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. That is probably one of the most insane things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So explain to people what, like, so there's a giant stone. What is it? Is it granite? Is it like a granite mountain?
Yeah, it's made of igneous rocks. Yep, similar to granite.
And people basically, it's like a negative relief temple. Like people just carved out the negative space out of this temple.
Yes.
And there's something like 200,000 tons of stone that was removed.
Yeah. Originally, when I first, and this is, I think I visited this temple in 2013. I was still in the U.S. at that time. I would go back to India for a month. I was looking at all the temples. I would come back, right? When I first saw this temple, I said, "There's no way that a temple could be built this way. This is just weird, right?" So I started to study the temple more and more. And I realized how crazy it is. It's not humanly possible to build a structure like that. Right? They should have used advanced technology because it is carved out of a single hill. Like it's just a giant. It's not a real. I wouldn't say it's a mountain.
How do you pronounce the word?
Kailasa.
Can you pull that up, Steve? Oh, there you go. Yeah, that is nuts.
Let's see here.
Yeah, so if you see, the way you carve it, it's not like you have to carve the
you had it. That was it, Steve.
Yeah, I'm going to get more images.
Oh.
Here we go.
Yeah, so you had to carve, you have to scoop out the rocks. Like, for example, you see that kind of, like they call it the pillar, but it should remind you of an obelisk.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So you don't carve an obelisk, right? Normally, if I tell you let's make an obelisk, like they have an obelisk in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
You know this? They put rocks they put bricks or rocks from the ground level. They keep going up, right? This is the normal construction technique.
Right.
But to create an obelisk like this, you have to carve everything around it. Okay, I wonder why. Anybody ever wondered why they made an obelisk in Washington, D.C.?
I don't know the answer to that. Okay. But why did they make it? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, you'll see a lot of ancient Egyptian details in Washington, D.C.
Really?
Yep, lots.
Did you know that the Statue of Liberty is supposed to be Prometheus?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, people think Google Statue of Liberty Prometheus.
Oh, I did not know that, man.
The people that originally made the Statue of Liberty, they were some sort of ancient Greek cult.
Look at this one here.
But yeah, no, if you look at the face and all the little details, it's
I guess that was it.
It's Prometheus. Go to click on all. Click on all. There should be a list of things, a list of like.
Do you really think
go to all next to images? Yeah, all. Right. Keep going. The story of Prometheus sculpture.
The man ship. Prometheus and Statue of Liberty.
There you go. Do you click on that and then see if they have like a list of click like the description.
Oh, it's just an image. Oh wait, this file contains.
That's really interesting. Do you really think it's based on Prometheus?
Yeah, well, we can't find it right now, but there was a whole video that Jason Giorgiani talking about the people that actually made the people that constructed the Statue of Liberty. That's what they were doing. They were creating something to resemble Prometheus. The people that built the Statue of Liberty, they were in some sort of like group.
Wow.
And that was the goal of the Statue of Liberty, was to create Prometheus. And they're actually working on a new statue.
Yeah, the founding fathers were really interesting people. They did all these ancient, and that's why they put these obelisks and all these symbols.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Who was the guy? Who was the guy that was one of the founding fathers that was like really into Plato? Ahmed mentioned him. You don't remember who I'm talking about, Steve?
Father enter Plato.
Oh my God, no, he doesn't remember. Fuck
No.
it. I can't remember anything. But yeah, what were we talking about before this? Oh, we're talking about the temple.
The temple.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to carve around this, right? So all these people who were standing
Thomas
there,
Jefferson. That's who it was. Thomas Jefferson was really into ancient Greek. Yeah. So all of this basically was this was all one rock, and they carved out all of the negative space to create this.
Yes.
There's nothing else like this on the earth, is there? At least
there
this
are.
the size.
Maybe
there are not this size, yes.
Right.
So I think this was the prototype. Mm-hmm. And that created, there are structures like this in India, but I think this was the first one that was created with this kind of negative, like top-down approach. I don't think. Wow. Yep. And then there are temples, smaller temples, modeled after this. Right? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There are smaller temples modeled after this.
So conventional archaeologists, when you ask them about this, what is the understanding of how long it took them to build it, when they think it was built or carved out, and what were the tools that they say were used to create this?
If you talk to mainstream historians or archaeologists, they're going to say, the dates vary, but they will say it's about 1,200 to 1,400 years old.
Okay.
And they were carved using chisels, hammers, pickaxes, simple metal tools.
Would that have been possible?
We don't know. I don't think so. Well, you could do it, right? Like, for example, you could make the entire studio with just using simple tools. But the question is, did you?
Yeah, would it be practical?
Yeah.
And how long would it take?
Right. So this is a thing that people fail to question, right? Just because I can, right? Just because you can make this table with simple tools, did you? Mm-hmm. No,
Right.
you probably used all sorts of like cutting power tools, etc. Right? We don't know. The question is it possible to build it with chisels and hammers and maybe millions of people and then like a century? Yeah, it's possible. But how do we know if that's how they did it? That's the question.
How long do they say that it took to build this?
We don't know that for sure. Some people, if there's an official plaque on site, they keep changing that. Because when I made the video, it became, and this is one of the first videos which kind of became viral from my channel at that time. When I posted it, and I think I was the first one who documented this temple. And it was in 2013 or 14. And at that time, it got like 25,000, 30,000 views in like a week or something. It was like big at that time. You remember those times? When if you get like 10,000 views, that's like a miracle.
Oh, yeah.
So at that time, and in my video, I actually show a screenshot. Luckily for me, right? I show a screenshot from Wikipedia that says 400,000 tons of rock were removed, or 800,000 tons of rocks were removed.
Wow.
To create the Kailasa temple. And since then, people have modified that Wikipedia page so many times. Because I got lucky, I guess I posted a screenshot because it says the time and everything from Wikipedia, right? But since then, now they're saying that, oh no, only 200,000 tons were removed. But remember, these are all like
Trying to say it was easier.
Guesstimations, right?
Right.
So they kind of now they're like, oh, this is a big controversy. So how do we minimize this to prove that it was easy to create with primitive tools?
Right.
Like rather than really looking at it. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure in another country they'd be like, wow, this is amazing. Let's announce it as a world wonder, right? But in India, they're like, oh, let's kind of minimize that. So it seems simpler to create. It's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah. So who in India is in charge of declaring when they were made, who made them, and how they were made? Is it similar to Egypt, how like the Department of Antiquities with the Zahi Hawass and all this stuff, they're controlling this narrative that clearly everyone is against? How does that work in India?
Well, we have an archaeological survey of India. This is the archaeological department of India. And probably there's some head there. And then we have a historical department and all that stuff. They're now looking at it. It's not as bad as Egypt. You know?
Oh, really?
Yep, it's not as bad as Egypt. And we got to give them credit for trying. But but I have to say that it's impossible to date a megalithic structure.
Right.
Right. It's just impossible. Yeah. There's no way to date that. So how do we actually date a temple like this? What would you do? Right. If you're an archaeologist, how would you start?
I mean, you'd have to find the any kind of organic material or remains inside it and try to use that.
Yep.
Maybe take carving, like if there were hieroglyphs in there or something like that that depicted any sort of kings or gods, maybe.
Yeah. So what happened was in a typical temple, right? They would find some organic material. They'd find some like burnt bones or something like that, right? Then they would date that. And they'd be like, this was built 500 years ago.
Right.
But we don't know if somebody was cooking something 500 years ago
right.
inside the temple.
Same thing with the pyramids, right?
Oh.
No, look at this crazy big structure. I'm going to put my dead grandma in there.
Yeah. Same. Look, and the paintings, right? So sometimes in India, they're like, oh, look, we are able to look at the paintings are made of vegetables in India. They take all like different kind of vegetables, put them together, and create paint, and they paint on the carvings.
Right.
So we can date that organic material. So they look at the paint, the vegetable stuff, and they be like, oh, this is like 600 years old. But
Couldn't
I can
paint it after.
Yeah. Like I'll paint my house now.
Right.
Doesn't
Yeah. It's been painted 100,000 times.
Yeah. So it's very hard to find the dates on them, right? And fortunately, like I said before, most of the temples don't have inscriptions that say, I built it. This is when I built it.
Right.
This is why I built it. They don't say that. And this is the hard part of this, right? It's like me, right? You don't know anything about me. Mostly, right? Mostly you don't know anything about me, right? And they kind of bring that. I tried to learn that from them because they never talked about themselves. Instead, they let their work. Like you were looking at the Kailasa temple, like, wow, the Kailasa temple is amazing. How you don't think once about the guy who built it, right?
Right.
Because now your attention is all on his creation.
Right. Yeah. So how big is that whole cavity in the side of that mountain, roughly?
No, can't tell you the numbers. But yeah, I've been there a few times.
Wow, look at it with the people there, man.
Yeah, now you can see the size, and you see this is the hard part, right? So you see people on the first floor, and you can see people on the second floor.
Yep.
Of course, in India it'd be like ground floor and first floor, whatever. Now, but remember this, and you can literally walk up, and to the left, if you go to the left, you can see a bridge. This is a bridge that goes to the balcony out in the front, right? You had to plan everything before you even started carving. Anything. Even before you started carving a little bit, you had to plan everything. You can't be like, okay, now we have created this. Now let me put a bridge between these structures. You can't do that, right? Because nothing is added to it.
Right. No, yeah. When you start, you have to have the final plans, just like the final blueprints before you even start.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. I cannot, my brain cannot even fathom
Yep.
how to even think about going about something like this.
Yeah, and you know what? If you zoom in to the carvings on the right, there are like weird animals on the right. There's like weird animals and stuff like that. Yeah, there you can see a lot of destruction. You can see a lot of like damage. Those damages were done by kings who came from the Middle East, and they tried to destroy the temple. They'd be like, "Oh, this is like infidel stuff, right?"
Right, the Islam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So they try to destroy it. And how do you destroy a temple like this? You can't.
Radical religion, man. Wow.
Yeah, but they can't. Like you can't.
Is there any of it they were able to destroy?
Some temples, some temples were destroyed. But a temple like this, how do you even begin to destroy? You would have to kind of nuke it. You'd have to you'd have to throw a bomb onto it because it's impossible to destroy. Right? It's made out of one rock. The entire structure is made out of one rock, and you had to build multiple floors. You had to build bridges. You had to build these pillars, and you had to do all this flawless work. Right? And this is the macro stuff, man. But if you go there, and if you go into the second level floors, you can walk inside, and you'll see micro carvings like this. 1 or 2 inch carvings there. So it's not only the size, like the macro, it's also the micro, So they just did insane work on the temple.
And conventionally believe this is, you said, 1,500 years ago, roughly? 1,000?
1,200 to 1,400 years. That'd be the estimate of this. You typically be like, oh, this is a 7th century.
That's insane, man. Even comparing this to some of like the cathedrals, the Renaissance era cathedrals, they're like, those weren't created like that.